And greetings, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight? Welcome across the ocean to Sean Ferrick. How are you, my friend?
I am very good. I am very good. It's keeping it stereotypical outside. The rain is rattling the windows. So, I mean, it's Ireland. What was I expecting?
Gosh, unbelievable. Yeah, well, we had that here. It's just it's been a nasty 3 weeks, I want to say, here. As my dogs fight for food in the background.
Oh my God, it's got to the stage where they have to fight for food. Oh, like we need to help, you know.
It ain't because of a lack of food. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, that's Pee Wee, who's telling the senior citizen, Charlie Brown, hey, get the blank out of my area. All right, wait a second. So hold on. All right, Charlie.
Hello to everyone in the comments anyway. Hope you are all having a lovely whatever time it is where you are. It's just gone. It's just started the January the 14th here.
What's that?
I was just saying hello to everyone there. So I've just said it's just started. We're now January 14th where I'm sitting. I'm in the future.
Oh, that's right. That's right. How's that? All right, let's say retro dot. You're new here. Okay, that's cool. We love new people on our stream. And we've had, I will say, what was fun over the past month, I would say, John Stogie, who's like my YouTube producer, he does kind of monitors the YouTube channel and takes care of it. Yeah, I kind of lit a fire. Well, one, he was experimenting with stuff, and I kind of lit a fire under him. Like, all right, we need to pick the game up here, and so he's just been posting short videos and doing stuff, and we gained over 1,600 new subscribers in December, and yeah, it was doing great. And the funny thing was, a rival Trek person, I will just say, one of the Axanar haters, follows us religiously because he posts like some statistics about our site. I don't even know where he got them from. And showing the growth. And this is a guy who can't get more than 500 views on his videos. And he's been doing it for like 10 years. And it's mostly because he's just an irreverent asshole to us. So, there's only so many people out there that want to see that crap. And so he's like, oh, Alec must have spent at least $5,000 last month to get all these additional views. I'm like, dude, spending money on views is the last thing in this world I would spend money on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my appearance fee is $10,000. So I mean, you'd. Oops,
I gotta save my money. I gotta save my money for the big shots like you.
Just to be very clear, I am not being paid to. If you want to pay me, please, by all means, do. But yeah,
I know. Yes. Well, we're sending you swag, so that's it. And we'll see you at D&I Con, the convention that Dan Deavy and Gaze in Space are putting on later this year. So we'll see you there. We're excited. I'm excited to see you there and go drinking with you, my friend. As long as it's beer, I just cannot hold my alcohol anymore.
Are you ready? I mean,
here.
I was born Irish.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, okay, let's look at say hi to some people. Donnie Pearson is here. He's one of our regulars. James McCoy, Tesla is here. Claude Sailing, Silver Bullet, who we'll be seeing. That's Stephen Shuey, whose mother is our seamstress. She'll be coming up for the shoot in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, the shoot is. Oh my God! So after this, I'm getting on the bike for an hour. There's always one. We have to have an award or something for the person. So is Axanar finished? Obviously, you're not paying attention to anything we put out, Mark. Please do. Please feel free. Please feel free to do what most people do, and they subscribe to the Axanar.com newsletter. And that's how you get all the information about Axanar. Let me edit that and put that in. There you go. Down there, subscribe to that. You get all the information you'll want, and you'll find out about when Axanar is coming out and so on and so forth. Alejandro Molina, that's a Latin name if there ever was one. Walter Ian K from Tennessee. Here's a new guy. Look at the mutton chops on that guy.
That's impressive.
Wow, that's impressive. That's very impressive. Let's see who else we got. Scott Mantooth. Okay, Any relation to Randolph Mantooth from Emergency, who's still alive and kicking? I saw recently. I happened to run into him on Facebook. Oh well.
Any relation to Wes Mantooth of was it Channel 5 News?
Oh, I see. I don't know. Come on, Scott. Time to own up to your legacy. Eric Manson says, "Hey, Alec and Sean, if either of you gentlemen ever wanted to make a live version of a Star Trek audiobook, what would it be?" Oh, yeah, that's an easy one for me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I'd like to explore that Garth character. If we could,
maybe a live version of Axanar. How's that?
Oh, maybe actually. I heard about there was this group was trying to get something like that off ground.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that for you. Get back to you. No, if live version of a Star Trek audio, a live version of an audio. I don't know what's on audiobook. But I'll tell you what book I would want an audiobook or a live version of, and that's Sorrows of Empire, which is the Mirror Universe one, which basically picks up at the end of Mirror Mirror and shows you what happens. It's brilliant. I believe it's David Mack. Someone fact check me on that. And the great thing is, it literally starts with Spock throttling Kirk in his quarters and strangling him to death. And then shows you how the Empire fell. And it's brilliant because every single character is there. They even bring in Vanguard Station, and they bring in, I think they bring in the Excalibur, but you've got Garth is in there. What's his name from Doomsday Machine?
Decker.
Commodore Decker is in there. His son's in. Everyone. It's just freaking brilliant, and it was a novella, I believe, originally, and it got such acclaim that David Mack was like, "I better make a whole book out of it," and then of course, A Stitch in Time, the story of Garrick.
There you go. I mean, that was going to be my one, A Stitch in Time.
Yeah.
This is by no means confirmed. Please don't take this as a confirmation, but I believe there is movement on the audiobook because that up to this point, it's only been text. I think there's movement on the audiobook. There's all sorts of rights issues throughout the years. But don't quote me on that one. I do not have I heard from a person, that kind of way.
Well, it's
basically how we get all of our news.
Silver Bull wants to know if you are going to be at the shoot. No, not this one, although we invited him, but it was a little short notice. And I should let everyone know that Sean and I's relationship is like, it's been over the internet until this past week. And we were finally like, we should finally get to know each other, since Sean is one of those guys who's like, I've said hi to him, we've had conversations, and then all of a sudden I see I'm literally in New York. I think it was when I was in New York at the Comic-Con with Dan Deavy, and I go, Sean Ferrick's going to be at DNI Con? Oh, cool. I'll get to hang out with that guy.
It was funny because I remember, because obviously I still remember it wasn't that long ago, but I remember getting a very nice message on like, are you, this is when we was in New York, and you were like, oh, you're going to be around, we must meet up. And I happened to invite fortunately for a couple of reasons I couldn't be there. And I remember going like, we should probably do this. We should, so yes, I am looking forward to meeting you, because right now what we are basically is a Tinder conversation. We'll try and formalize it a little bit,
Oh God. Well, technically it would be a Grindr conversation, wouldn't it?
If you're ready for that, Alec.
It's so funny because Dan Deavy, and those of you who don't know, go back and see, I think episode 110, I had Dan Deavy on. Dan Deavy of Gays in Space, which is the LGBTQ advocacy organization. And last year, I guess it was a year and a half ago, J.G. Hertzler's like, Alec, you need to meet Dan Deavy. He's just like you. You guys would get along famously. I'm like, okay, sure. And so I called Dan, and he's going to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas. So we're like, let's meet in Vegas. And we met in Vegas and just hit it off big time. and then he introduced me to Inara Tabir and Rich, his fiance. Well, I think they got. I want to think that's when he proposed to Rich. Was at that Vegas 21.
Yes.
But anyway, I went to the parties and everything, and just like, you know, I am just a huge fan of Dan's and Rich's and everything they do, and I'll, you know, I want to support them in D&ICON and everything, and yeah, just fantastic. And Dan's going to be at our shoot. Dan did behind the scenes at our last shoot. He did the BTS interviews, and he's going to do it again.
Excellent. You're saying as well that you've been to some of the gays in space parties.
Yeah.
So I'm still the last one. So Vegas gone. I was at Vegas. Obviously, I wasn't at 21, but I was at Vegas 22. I'm still probably legally over the limit to drive, and it was in August of 22. So how are you since you know, the gays in space party from Vegas of 21? You know, are things back in HD?
Yeah, I'm fully recovered at this point.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Also, I legendarily can't handle my liquor. I mean, beer, I'm fine, but you pour liquor in me, and it's just not a good scene. So I kind of stay away from it. You know, I'm good for like, you know, I'm good for a gin and tonic or two, or, you know, maybe bourbon and Coke Zero, but you know, I can't go past 2. I had 2 on, was it New Year's or Christmas? And I couldn't drive. Well, I also had 3 beers on top of it, but still 5 drinks and I couldn't drive. You know, I can't.
I know this right, because I'm just seeing a comment there from Raymond TF Forever, counting the days for the Axanar ups and down. I'll actually do you one better. If, you know, it comes to a situation where there is a party at a gays in space thing, and someone who's not Irish with a beard slips you a shot, I will do a live, you know, hello and welcome to the party. Here's the people who are still up, probably Dan, and the people who are down, probably Alec.
Probably. Yeah, probably. And it's not good. I don't handle it's just like I get the spins and I'm sick, and yeah. So, but beer, I'll drink beer all night and I'll be fine. So you're Irish. We can drink beer. Sherry and ginger ale minus the sherry. Oh, minus. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Gotcha. Here, Spencer Tom Tafadazwa Chirumi. I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. The last time I checked back with Axanar was 2014-13, so I'm a bit of a listener during the day, new things. Well, yeah, we released Prelude in 2014. So, and I don't want to talk too much about Axanar. Just, we have a shoot coming up. It's our second of our 3 shoots. Last year we did one in Atlanta. J.G. Hertzler, Rob Hayes, who plays the pilot, Xander DeVille, Raj Kahlo, who plays Commodore Singh, who is one of the wizards in Black Adam. And it went unbelievably well. This year, myself, Rob Pralgo, and a yet to be named actor playing Korax, the female lead. We are shooting on Friday. Yeah, I can't wait till we finally release and I can let everyone know, because I'm so excited about this actor. Anyway, Friday we are shooting a full scene on the bridge, which is going to be awesome. Then Saturday and Sunday we do the interviews. Once we're finished, we will not only have a full scene with visual effects, so it'll be just like the Vulcan scene that we will release, but we will have 9 of the 17 actors that we need in the can. So we will be more than 50% done. One big shoot in LA and we are done and off to the races. So anyway, there you go. Enough of me, enough of Axanar. You can ask me questions about Axanar. Yes, Xander is coming back. He has become a crew favorite, Rob Hayes, who is one of the bad guys in the last season of Walking Dead. He had a really good part too, a meaty part. Anyway, enough of that. Sean Ferrick. So Sean, you're here, and we there's 2 things. It's very easy for me to say Sean Ferrick of Trek Culture, but you also have your podcast, which you invited me on, and we recorded the other day, the Clone Star Podcast. But before we get to what you do for a living, how did you become a Star Trek fan?
It's my dad's fault. It's the story goes that I've been a Trekkie since I was 2. I would argue I've been a Trekkie since I was born, but no, apparently I was about 2 years old. And see, Dad has been a Trekkie since forever. He watched, first run and all the way through. But my mum, God bless her, no interest. Never has had an interest in Star Trek. So she's never lied to him. She's never said, I will watch this with you. So, eventually I come along and he's like, I need another Trekkie in the house. And so I was watching, I don't remember a lot of TNG first run, but I vaguely remember the last season. And at that point, I know I was in it because I remember 1994, Star Trek Generations comes out in the cinema, and myself, I actually remember the day. You talk about like the most important days of your life. You're supposed to say your wedding. You're supposed to say things like that. No, I remember going to see Star Trek Generations in the cinema, and I remember my dad bringing me to. It was very unusual because but there was no reason to go to this shop that was quite far away from home. So I remember getting out of the car and making a joke, going, "Well, I'm going to go to the cinema and see Star Trek," and Dad then produces 2 tickets from his jacket, and of course I went into full meltdown in the middle of the car park. Dad probably regretting every second of Star Trek he'd ever shown me at that point. He's like, I've made a dreadful error. But yeah, we went in anyway, and I remember it well. There was that amazing, oh my God, there's the Enterprise D on the big screen. But I do remember that at that stage in 94, I was hook, line, and sinker. I was a Trekkie. We've been, Santa Claus had been very good to me. I'd got the Bridge play set. I'd got that first box of the Micro Machines, if you remember them. So I remember, yes, I'd done very well. A couple of Christmases in a row, and of course there was me, you see, everyone was like, Sean, how long have you been able to do that for? I said, I've been doing that since I've been using that as the doors to space dock and flying my little Micro Machines through them. That's how I've been practicing the Vulcan salute my entire life. Is that I've just been we don't have a space dock model yet. I do now. I think there's one back there. And yeah, so that's the incredibly geeky way that I became a Trekkie. And then, I became a Trekkie at kind of the perfect time. Next Gen was winding down, but DS9 was, winding up. Don't have an amazing memory of the first, but I do remember watching Emissary, and that's 93. Sorry, for context, everyone, I was born start of 88. So I know I don't look as old as I am. But and I kind of have clearer memories then once Voyager started. But it was great. The 90s was new Star Trek every week. It was fantastic. And then we get to Enterprise. But you see, once Enterprise hit, I was a very cool kind of, 14, 15-year-old, kind of, I needed edgy television. What's this Battlestar Galactica thing you're talking about? Yeah. I don't know if I can do optimistic view of the future right now. So, of course, I didn't see season 3 of Enterprise on first run. You want a non-optimistic view of the future? Season 3 of Enterprise is right there. But of course I was young. But then when I got back to college and, I met other Trekkies in Ireland, which at the time, I did feel like I was on my own because we didn't have things like forums. We certainly didn't have, if you were a Trekkie in school, you'd kind of have to meet behind the bike shed, kind of like, you'd have some kids in the corner, they'd be, smoking cigarettes and they'd be looking around. Then you'd have other kids and we'd be like, hey, how's it going? Did you see the Defiant? Yeah, this was amazing, right? Yeah. Klingons, yeah. But it was when I got to college, I was able to be like, maybe I can talk about this in public. And kind of since then, any restraint I had ever had, gone, just absolutely gone. And I apologize for nothing, but I do always warn people before they walk into my home. I was like, I'm just you might think you know what's coming, you don't.
I'll tell you a quick story about that. I was on a date. This is like 15 years ago. And I think I'd been out with the girl 2 or 3 times. And so, and at my house, at the time I was living a little closer to Atlanta, and I had a nice big townhome. And I had in my in my living, it wasn't the formal living room, but kind of the family room where the kitchen was, right? On either side of my TV was my costume collection. I had Kirk, Cisco, Janeway, and Archer. Screen use costumes, right? And they were beautiful. I had Janeway's costume from her Admiral costume from Nemesis, actually. Nice. And I had Archer's last costume. Anyway, it was very impressive. And then I had other things. But anyway, this, that's when I was an entrepreneur. I had a successful technology company here in town. And so, of course, you're going out with a girl, you don't talk about your geeky side, right? Yeah. So you're like, oh, yeah, well, I'm an entrepreneur, whatever. Anyway, we were having a great time. She comes over to my house, like third date. So she comes over to my house and she walks into the main room and she goes, "You're fucking Bruce Wayne." Meaning, like, I looked like a normal guy, but I was really a geek on the inside. I was like, yes, that's my dark secret.
Well, I mean, like, there's worse things to be called than Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I wish I had Bruce Wayne's money. Believe me.
Don't we all?
I was the Walmart Bruce Wayne.
No, it is. There's the that long-standing joke now that really, really, really applies to people like us. It's kind of like, hey, how's it going? I'm fine. I'm in severe credit card debt. Yeah.
There you go. Sean, which Battlestar Galactica was your favorite, the classic or the updated?
I don't think this will shock anyone, the updated, but I have gone back. I've watched the classic. I do remember, again, this is my father. Now, my father might be about to lose some fans here. It was before the Reimagine came out. So it would have been maybe 99, 2000. And the original pilot came on. And I was just like, sci-fi. I had never heard of it at the time. I was like, yeah, sci-fi, great. Watch the pilot. I remember my dad came into the room and he goes, "What's that?" And he kind of stopped himself and says, "Is that Battlestar Galactica?" And I went, yeah, I think it is. And there's the music playing in the background and everything. And he says, "Sean, that was naff at the time." And I was like, "Oh, all right." And then he left. And then I was I remember years later saying that back to him, and he completely stood by it. And I was like, "All right, cool. I guess my dad not a Battlestar Galactica fan of the original anyway." So I think because that's what it was. I was telling him that I was watching the Reimagined, and of course, then what he thought was Lauren Green in a cape, and it was just like a little bit different.
A little different, yeah. And Battlestar Galactica, I truly believe is the greatest science fiction show of all time on TV. Not my favorite. My favorite is Deep Space Nine, but Battlestar Galactica certainly makes the top 3, and sure, along with Babylon 5. And it is just brilliant. It's just, the interesting thing is when it was out, in that time period, before because of course we did the auctions for Battlestar Galactica. Of course. The thing that you heard, it was really interesting because Battlestar Galactica got more critical acclaim the longer it was on, because over and over and over, critics would say, I just started watching this Battlestar Galactica and it is like the best show on TV. And they would say that in season 2 or season 3. It's like they wouldn't take it seriously because of the title and because of what it represented. Can you get out of there, Jack? Come here, buddy. Come on. There you go. Sorry, dog problems. You look like you want to find a place to poop. Not in here.
Don't we all, Alec? Don't we all?
I wonder what the problem's going to be. How we're going to treat our pets, in the 23rd century. Like, there's going to be technology that walks the dog for you. I know it. I know it's coming. Anyway, so that was Battlestar Galactica. So, and listen, the original Battlestar Galactica got a warm place in my heart for it.
Sure.
Got me through some tough nights at my first year at college, but it's not good. You can go back there and it's nostalgic. You enjoy it for the nostalgia. not because it's brilliant. It's 80s sci-fi.
Sure, and that's it. Like, because one of the things, and thank you as well for giving a shout out to the podcast. But one of the things we discussed on the episode, which links will be everywhere, folks, when the episode drops. Don't worry, is things like early seasons of Next Generation, for example. Season 1 of the Next Generation. This is again hardly a controversial statement, but season 1 of the Next Generation is the greatest year of television ever. No, it's not. And I say this with love. It's pants. There was a lot of goodwill and there was a lot of hard work. So I'm not talking that side of it down, but just everyone was finding their feet. Everyone was trying to get, trying to find out what the show was. It is, all the building blocks are there, but it's like a different show from the 3rd season, for example, which is kind of where it turns around.
Oh, yeah, season so raw and stilted and just,
and bright.
It's
even
just like.
Yeah, like TNG is a bright show, and season 1 is like someone's shining a flashlight right in your eyes, the whole thing, and it's like, okay, I get it, and it's like that. They found their feet as it went along, and that is true of so many shows. I
haven't told this story in a while. This is Walter's talking about Grace Park. So I got to meet Grace and hang out a little with her. Of course, when I was up on the Battlestar Galactica sets for 3 months because we did the auctions. I created a company, Proudworks, that did the auctions and sold all the assets. So the great story is, so one day I'm in the set deck warehouse, and set deck is, it's things you see in the back, right? Like this is all set deck, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
This is a prop. That's all set deck.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the set deck warehouse, which for Battlestar Galactica sucked mostly because it was, Battlestar Galactica was so grounded in reality. So the set deck was like, linens and tableware and lamps, and it was just boring. But anyway, and I climbed up on this pallet shelving. So I'm literally 15 feet in the air on the 3rd level, going through a box, and I hear this voice say, Alec. And I was just so intense, and I didn't register. I hear Alec, and I turn and I look down. I go, what? I look down, and it's Boomer calling my name, and I'm sure there was smoke coming out of me because she was in her flight suit. So I'm like,
oh, nice,
Boomer. I'm like, Boomer's calling my name. What? And she goes, Alec, I'm Grace. And I'm like, I know who you are.
Like, I know who you are, Grace. Yeah.
And anyway, it was just a surreal moment, because it was like seeing, someone in the universe, but out of the universe. It was weird. Anyway, okay. Do you know something? I got to admit to you, most of the Star Trek movies, I have no memory of seeing them in the theater. I know I did. Saw every movie in the theater. I remember Nemesis where I saw it. I saw it with my good friend John. But I do, of course, remember Star Trek the Motion Picture. I saw it in New York City in Times Square. Star Trek Through the Wrath of Khan, I saw it in New York City in Times Square. We stayed through a second show. Those I remember. And the greatest was I got to go to the red carpet premiere of JJ's Star Trek.
Oh, that's cool.
Because my good friend Jack, whose partner is Bill Condon, the famous movie director, did Beauty and the Beast, Dreamgirls, many others, Twilight, the last 2 Twilights. They got tickets, and Bill didn't want to go to see Star Trek, and Jack was just like, "Nah, I'm good. You want these tickets?" I'm like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah." And so I got like parking passes and red carpet tickets and the works, and they weren't the best seats. We were in the back, but hey, George Takei was in the back, so it was great, and we got to go through it and see it all. And so that movie, I'll never forget seeing, after all the time of not having Star Trek, what was it, 10 years we had no Star Trek, or whatever that was, 7 years, 8 years, whatever, seeing it on the big screen, and and that wonderful, I give Giacchino credit. There were some wonderful themes in that movie.
Yeah.
And Enterprising Young Men, which doubles as the title piece, is so powerful. And, you know, just when it comes and that chevron comes up and turns, and you were like, yeah, baby, Star Trek, you know. And so I think it's also primed me for being a lot more accepting of JJ Trek and just treating it like, and I, again, you and I talked about this, and I give JJ so much credit, you know, and I know it's Robert Orsi's idea, but saying, hey, this is an alternate universe, an alternate timeline. I was like, God bless you.
Yeah,
that's great. Let's go with it.
That's it. Just sorry, a shout out to Frank Prendergast there, who was at the premiere of Generations in Dublin. I am sick with jealousy, sir. Sick with jealousy. But actually, it's funny that you mentioned specifically the J.J. Abrams one, because I remember, you know, we watched the trailer. Of course, we're all very excited. The trailer comes out 2008, movie comes out 2009. But I do remember as well being like, oh, this ain't my daddy's Trek. This is different. Okay. And I remember being a bit like, okay, we only had, you know, the old DVDs of old DVDs. I've just aged myself terribly. But anyway, of Star Trek to go on here. It wasn't streaming. You know, there were episodes I hadn't seen in bloody years. And I was like, Dad, obviously we're going to go see this movie on, you know, as close to opening day as I could convince him to go to the cinema. And it was pretty close to opening day. And so we went and we just loved, I loved straight away. It was like, alternate universe, great, I can do whatever we want. And how many jokes are in it. You know, particularly Carl Urban as Bones. Oh, yeah. Just so many jokes. I remember watching it going like, hey, Quinto is an excellent Spock. And like they managed to make Spock sarky without losing an awful lot of Spock. Like, you know, they're kind of like, you know, I have to turn down the admission to Vulcan Science Academy. Live long and prosper.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I like that.
The other great line I love is when Aurora confronts him about being assigned to the Lexington or wherever she was assigned. Yes. She goes, no, I was, you know, I want to be on the Enterprise. And, you know, and he's like, yes, I believe you are. I was like, wow, they gave Spock such humanity.
Yes.
You know, that you really, you wound up rooting for him, even though he was a dick at times in that, you know. But you know, then he loses his mom, you know, and Ben Cross as Sarek was such brilliant casting.
I remember, and that's one of those ones that has grown on me so much more over the years, because I had just had Mark Leonard, because I'm one of those people. Like, one thing I did rewatch a lot was Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4. Loved them. They were, I think, I wore the VHS out, but as soon as I was able to get the DVDs, I watched them a lot, and because I just love his voice. So a different Sarek. I mean, why aren't they bringing back Mark Leonard? There was a very good reason why they weren't bringing back Mark Leonard. They were about 13 years too late, I think. And then, you know, this guy who I didn't know at the time, I hadn't seen things like Chariots of Fire.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, at that point, I was like, yeah, no, I didn't knew the music. That was it. Then he walks on. I'm just like, this works for me.
Yeah,
this works for me. You know,
yeah.
And there was a lot of that in the film. There was a lot of this works for me.
You know, I always say the thing about JJ films is, you know, he focuses on entertainment.
Sure.
Right? Not necessarily cohesive storytelling. You know, and that's what I have against 2009 and Into Darkness and then Force Awakens. But he's a very good filmmaker. But with JJ's films, a lot of times you're like, you know, you get out and you go, it's like a sugar rush, and you're like, wow, that was really good. I had a lot of fun. And then by the time you get to your car in the parking lot, you're going, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. But, you know, there's so many great moments. He really focuses on stringing together a lot of great moments, you know. And with Ben Cross, you know, I would argue brilliant casting, because if you're a Star Trek fan, who's going to replace Mark Leonard? Right? What actor are you going to get? Because, you know, it's not like Jor-El and you can get, let's get, what's his name from Gladiator, Russell Crowe. You know, okay, that's good. Sarek is so embedded in Star Trek that you need someone, and gravitas isn't the word I'm going to use. It's dignity. You need someone with such dignity. And when Ben Cross says, I married her because I loved her, holy shit, you just ripped your heart out, man. It's just wow. I was just that was so well written, and they just chose such a great actor. And that kid who plays little Spock is awesome.
I remember for a gag once we were like, right, okay, the challenge is each film you pick one mistake, right? And this is it. And this, kind of like, all right, great. Some films, God bless them, the mistakes are there. That's fine. That's grand. But when it came to Trek 09, I mean, we were just like, everything's in 4K at this point. So, I mean, they checked everything. Do you know what I did? And this is serious nitpicking. I was like, problem with that kid. And they're like, what? So, well, if you look, see, his earlobes aren't attached, whereas Quinto's are. So that was just terrible cast. I mean, I have nothing to go on with this film. There we go. That's what I had to pick. That's how good it was. I thought he was great. And I just thought it was fun. You said it great there. It was a whole sequence of fun moments. Everyone gets their moment to shine. Everyone gets, you're waiting for a Sulu scene. You're waiting for a Scotty scene. You get them all. And it works. I mean, yes, did the Constitution class have to be about the same size as Florida? I don't know. But, listen, because we were talking this before. My Enterprise is movie refit, 1701, 1701A. That's my. So I feel like, oh, you're gonna be another Constitution class, are you?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how this. But I mean, it now I love it. I mean, it's kind of, I like it, and I like the 2 refit. I like the one they do in Beyond as well. It's a bit sleeker.
Yeah. I think they hit it well in Beyond. Okay, so I know your Deep Space Nine's your favorite Star Trek.
Yep.
Who's your favorite captain? Does that mean Sisko's your favorite captain?
No, Janeway's up there.
Oh, okay.
And it's as I've got older, I appreciate Janeway an awful lot more.
Okay.
For a long time, yeah, I probably would have said either Sisko or Picard.
And does it, so much of it for fans depends on which was your first Star Trek?
I think you're right. Yeah, it's a bit like Doctor Who. Who was your first Doctor?
Right.
Tends to stick in your head.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. No, I agree. I agree with that. Okay. Favorite starship?
Oh, 1701 refit.
Refit. Okay. Yep. That's a good choice. Thank God you didn't say D. I'd have to cut you off of this channel. I just think the D is just such a bloated cruise ship. Not happy at all. And I'm not happy with what we're going to see in Picard. I'm just like, oh, that's totally uninteresting. What letter are we on? The F, the Enterprise F.
We are indeed. I do have to say I do like that design.
Right.
Yeah, I do. I actually have it not beside me now, but I have one of the Eagle Moss models of it, and I find an awful lot. And I use same with the micro machines through to now. When you hold it, everything just gets a bit cooler, and so it's kind of like, it's kind of flying it around. And I'm 34 years old, nearly 35. Are you asking me, do I fly my ships around? Yes, I bloody well do. Fly my ships around. Of course I do. And yeah, so I've been flying around the F, and then since it was revealed in that trailer, it's got an awful lot more playtime.
See, I having seen the evolution of ships, I mean, when we saw the Excelsior for the first time in Star Trek 3, I was like, frack yeah, that's exactly what the next generation of ships should look like. I get it. Good. And, then we get the D, which I hated, but then we got the E, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's an ass-kicking ship. So following up the E, which was such a major departure from the D, it's like, wow, what's next? Because, you went Excelsior, Ambassador, Galaxy, and I'm like, yeah, we kind of lost our way, guys. And then you get the E, and I'm like, oh yeah, thank God for Johnny Eves. We got a cool Enterprise again. So I always wanted the next Enterprise to be like the Aventine, I was like, oh, that's a kick-ass ship. Yeah. I love the Aventine. That's a beautiful one. But okay, so you can't go wrong with the refit Enterprise A. It's just such a classic. It's such a beautiful updating of the TOS Matt Jeffries design.
Absolutely. There was I remember something very, very recently we were talking about the advancements of ships. It was actually on a podcast the other day, and we were talking about D and how it is such an 80s ship. It's a very, like, you can see it's 80s. And I said, that's fair. And then I was like, and this is bonkers to think now that we're sitting here in 2023, but there was only, I think, 9 years between the motion picture and Encounter at Farpoint.
There was only 9 years?
Because it was
yeah, you're right.
It was less, actually, was it? It was because motion picture comes out in 1979.
The motion picture was 79.
And then Encounter was 87.
87. So
and yet, in those two designs, even with 1701 obviously originating in the 60s with Matt Jeffries' original design, 1701 is so 70s. It captures that sci-fi of the 70s look, I think, with the swept back nacelles, and they're boxier, but they're still sleek. You've got that lovely big bright deflector dish on it. I absolutely, I'm going to be a little bit blue for a second. I blame the 1701, that flyby in dry dock, is the reason I'm an ass man. Because looking at that ship from behind is just, yep. Okay, I get it. There's no mystery here. This is why. This is why. And only, I mean, you can well imagine I'm sitting there with my Eagle Moss models and I'm doing them all in that pose, and I'm just like, no, it's that design of ship that's the perfect balance. And they do that. They basically redo that shot in the Undiscovered Country. And it's one of the moments where Chang is shooting at the Enterprise A, and it's exactly that shot. It's from below and looking up, and you've got, her beautiful arse in our faces, and it is stunning. I would never tell the ship to fly backwards, but if I did, I'm all right looking at this. And I just think it's a great design. So that is why, it's one of my favorite designs.
So I'm interested in what Colin Barrett had here say. There was a TOS Connie in a deleted scene from Into Darkness. I have not heard this.
Even I've not heard this.
Yeah, Colin, prove it.
I would love to see it.
It didn't happen.
I've seen fan edits, and they look great. And I have to say, some of them look great, and they've updated it with as much of the kind of the style of the JJ films, but it's the original Jeffrey. There was a great one actually, and I will try and find this again. And it's from 2009. It's the scene where they warp into Titan's atmosphere, and then you get that great shot of the Connie. But they've redone that with Matt Jeffries' design, and it works.
We have a shot like that of the Ares in Axanar.
Actually, yes, because I rewatched it this evening.
One of your fellow Commonwealth people. Cisco is a colonel, not the best captain. Fight me. I will fight you, but not now. Because you're just wrong. Let's see. What else do we got? I love this. I love the Sovereign class too. Someone said that, yes, the Enterprise A is the refit. That is it's the same. It's the same ship.
It's literally the same filming model. I'm sure here's pointless information. I'm sure you know this already. It's the same filming model from 1979. It gets, obviously, they wrap it up, they take care of it and everything, because you tend to not throw away $100,000 models.
Yes.
But around the time of Final Frontier, it had been loaned out to, I might be getting this bit wrong. I've got to say, I don't think it must start the Experience, but think Star Trek The Experience anyway. Right. And it gets loaned out to this. And I feel bad for this person who thought, that needs a lick of paint. And so, curator, person who I'm gonna believe they were trying to do a nice thing, that it would. They went over it with this vinyl paint, the original model. So when they got it for Undiscovered Country,
they had to repaint it.
The whole thing, they were just like,
yeah, I know, it's crazy. Yes, we all like Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
And listen, and Strange New Worlds, and again, please, could we just, I would think that Alex Kurtzman would like there to be his universe, the Kurtzman universe, right? Like we used to call it the JJ verse forever until now it's the Kelvin universe. But you would think,
I should forgot we changed that. Sorry, you're right.
Right, yeah. And I think it's the same here. It's stop trying to shoehorn it into the original, because all you do is causing problems and pissing people off. But if I ever acquired the rights to Star Trek, I would say, okay, first of all, everything that happened from Kurtzman is a separate universe, and that's cool. Lower Decks may not be, Lower Decks may be part of the Prime universe, and maybe Prodigy is too. I don't know, but all the other stuff, I'm like, I don't know. I love the new Spock. I did it in Discovery. I love him in Strange New Worlds.
I love Ethan Peck as Spock. I remember.
I do too.
So obviously, this is much. When I say I remember, there's much more recent memories. But I remember the first image of him being released, because the first one, of course, he's got the beard, and you're like, all right, this is, we're going to see how we're doing Spock this way. Okay, that's fine. And then I think it might have been the first time I heard him speak. And I went, I didn't realize there was somebody out there with a voice deeper than Leonard Nimoy's, and here we are. And I loved him. I would have liked more of him in Discovery, because obviously his introduction is staggered over quite a few episodes. And there's, they knew what they were doing, that bait and switch in episode 1 where you're like, oh, here comes the science officer. He's got rounded ears. What's going on here? Oh, yeah. Spock this week. Okay, cool. And then by the end of the season, I have to say, at the risk of inviting the ire of the internet, I really liked how they handled Michael and Spock toward the end of the season. I thought Sonequa and Ethan really had a good chemistry together, particularly in that last Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2, which I really enjoyed. If it's somebody's most hated episode, absolutely fine. I really enjoyed it. I thought there was good stakes. But particularly, I just like, basically, Spock can't get the shuttle to work. And you can see how frustrated he is because he wants to help Michael. And I think they did a great job on that one. And then, of course, we get clean-shaven Spock at the end of the episode. And it looks so weird for a little while. You're just like, we're all used to seeing clean-shaven Spock since the original series. And then a few episodes of him with the beard, and suddenly it's strange again. You're like, hold on, what? And I just think he's fantastic.
I in clean-shaven Spock with the bowl haircut just wasn't working for me. But I don't know. He looks good in Strange New Worlds, and I just love his take on it. I just think he's awesome. They've done a great job. Okay, so what's your tell me your take on all? Let's go through the new Star Treks and give me your take on first Discovery.
So Discovery, the first season, I was, to be honest, I was with everyone else. I was like, oh, this looks very different, and we're really kind of like, this is 10 years before Kirk and Spock, and you're like, okay, well, is it, and then those pilot, because the 2 episodes dropped on the same night. I remember watching it with my buddy, and we were sitting there going like, well, this looks amazing. Whatever else is going on here, this oh my God, Star Trek. Someone gave Star Trek a budget, and then as the season went on, I didn't love it. I'll be honest. I thought character had been sacrificed for spectacle in season 1. I thought they pulled it back in season 2, with the introduction, particularly of Pike. I think Anson Mount's contribution to the current Star Trek is just it's so important. And then season 3, my feelings on the burn are well documented online. If you want to see my eye twitch, hey Sean, what do you think of the burn? Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you.
I did like the idea. I still like the idea. Future's fine with me. We've discussed how if like Spore Drive, it's, you know, even if it's completely classified and locked up and we never ever touch it, it's Grant. Listen, give Janeway a shout, will you? That's a bit mean. You know, Janeway, don't tell anyone about this technology. You know, like you'll be home tomorrow, but you know, you were able to keep Omega secret. So that's Discovery. I do enjoy it, but Discovery is the one I find myself having to go, I do enjoy it because if I say I enjoy Strange New Worlds, fewer people ask me why. You know, that kind of way. Lower Decks, hilarious. I love Lower Decks. Lower Decks, to me, it's the least stakes of any of them, and that's the point. And it's great. You go in and you laugh for half an hour, and yet, like, aesthetically, it really is. Mike McMahon did the whole season 8 of TNG on Twitter. It really is the next year, because you've got Sovereign classes flying around. You've got I remember the first time seeing the California class being like, really? And now I love it because it thematically, it's absolutely. So of course, it's a flying saucer section. Of course it is, because it's Second Contact and it's great. And I just think it's hilarious. And I love how they've brought some characters back compared to we would have never expected to see again. Sonia Gomez. Not saying she wasn't brilliant in season 2 of Next Generation, but I don't think we ever thought we were going to see Lysia Nath again. And yet she was very funny at it. So Lower Decks I enjoy the most. Prodigy, it's between Prodigy and Strange New Worlds for I am the most impressed. And I would actually give it a tiny bit to Prodigy over Strange New Worlds. Not that I don't enjoy Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds had effectively a trial run in season 2 of Discovery, and I like pretty much everything on the Enterprise I love in season 2 of Discovery, and we've talked about I love Spock, love Pike, particularly love Rebecca Romaine as number 1. So, like, and then all of Strange New Worlds, I absolutely flipping love it, and I love how it's episodic again. I love how it looks. I love how they treat everything. I love how it's not end of the world every single week. I once at a con a couple of years ago, I got to speak to Wilson Cruz, and I had a bit of a laugh because we'd had a back and forth on Twitter before. So I was like, you know, hi, I am a weirdo who's just introducing himself to you, but we have kind of done this already. And he laughed. And I said, you know, at this point, season 4 hadn't aired yet. And I said, so you guess it's a quiet year for you, is it? You know, just be sitting down, not doing very much, low stakes. And he just burst out laughing. And I says, listen, do you ever get tired that any decision you make might blow up the universe? And he went, yeah, it happens. I was like, fair enough. Yes. Fair enough. And then, of course, the other one is Star Trek Picard. Star Trek Picard seems to be the internet's Marmite. That it is either hated or loved. And, of course, then there's loads of people who are just like, I like it. I think season 1, love the opening episode. Love it. Love things like Nepenthe. And I like quite a lot of season 1. But as a season, it was a bit like it launched and then kind of a little bit kind of bumped along the runway. And then, of course, they didn't know how they were going to end the season when they started filming. And that shows. Season 2 pulled it back, but suffered from the pandemic, as so many shows did. And there is that slump in the middle. Which is a shame because it started so well. You know, you had the beautiful Stargazer, you had the Armada in episode 1. We had the Luna class in live action for the first time. You know, just like, and then there was just the time travel. I'm fine. I like time travel. I love Star Trek: The Voyage Home. But it was just like it was not enough story pulled into 10 episodes, and there's a couple of episodes there where it's just like, I thought we were going to do something this week. You're saving it till next week, and that was a shame. Poor Rios' storyline, I think it plays out over 4 episodes. It's 1 episode at best, his storyline, and it's a shame because I like it. It's a good story, but it's not a 4-episode story.
It's sad because it was an interesting story for Rios. I thought that's interesting, in then how they resolve it later, and how Picard finds out about him from Guinan, right? I think it was Guinan. But I thought he was I thought he was a character. Of course, he's stuck in Picard, which was always going to be a limited limited in the number of seasons. But they set him up in season 1 with all these holograms of him, right?
Yeah.
And you're going, wow, this is a character we're really going to take a ride with, this guy, right? And that ride was only one season. Season 2.
It really was.
Oh, wow, really? Because I could have seen like him going on for a long time, because he was a character that you could have seen had his own series.
I thought for a while, because obviously it's halfway through season 2. The teaser for season 3 drops, and suddenly the entire cast is coming back. And I remember feeling a bit like, oh, I mean, amazing. There's clips of me online having, kind of conniption fits running around the place. But at the same time being like, well, I mean, we knew they weren't going to kill the entire crew in season 2. That wasn't going to happen. But also, like, any marketing is difficult. If you do that, there's no threat for the rest of the season. But then as the season went on, we were kind of like, oh, I assumed we were going to get spin-off. Maybe like, kind of, right, season 3 is going to be, let's wrap up the Next Generation in a way that Nemesis didn't. And then we're going to go and do I've been calling it the Seven and Raffi spin-off for ages, whether it ever becomes that or not. That's what I've just been calling this show that doesn't exist. I've been calling it the Seven and Raffi spin-off. And it would have made sense to me that at that point, it would have been the Seven, Raffi and Rios.
Right.
Spin-off.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then with season 2 starting as, right, they're going to go on the Stargazer. Maybe Seven is first officer. Maybe Rios is captain. Maybe Raffi is first off. You know what I mean? Like, but we can do a Starfleet show with characters we know. So again, a bit like Strange New Worlds in that, sure, we knew Spock, sure, we knew Pike, but we'd also had a trial run in Discovery. Right. You do your trial run of these characters, which, again, if it is a Seven and Raffi spin-off, they maced it. Well, of course, Seven has had quite the trial run since, 1997. I think she gets her start in Voyager. I still think there is going to be a spin-off. I don't know what shape that will take at this point, because there's talks today, even this week, there is articles out, where both Alex Kurtzman and Patrick Stewart have teased that beyond the end of season 3, sure, this will finish this story, that they leave the door open. And I mean, like, as long as anyone's alive, doors open for a sequel.
Sure. Well, also, then the question is Kurtzman going to be doing Star Trek anymore?
I think so.
Right? Because his contract ends in 2025. I keep hearing conflicting things. Anyway, so I would have liked, and I agree with you. It would have made sense, like they were moving towards, this crew on this ship without Picard. Picard's going to go at some point, move on, and then we're going to have this crew, which should have included Laris and her husband, who were two of the most fascinating, underused characters in season 1. I was like, what? Who are these people? What? I want to know about these guys, the guys that keep the guns all over the house. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They were what, Tal Shiar? I'm like, wow, that's those are interesting characters. So, and I was the one, I was the guy when 7 of 9 was introduced to Voyager, going, fuck you. I'm not that easily manipulated. Like, really, you're just giving me a sex symbol. You're not. Come on, Berman. Who do you think I am? A 12-year-old kid? And, I was really offended by 7 of 9. Liked her and liked the direction she went. I loved everything with her and the Doctor. Yeah, but I was really taken back. And now 7 of 9 is such a great character.
Yes.
Such a great character, and they've done such a good job with her, which credit to all the writers and showrunners and everything. And Raffi, I thought, was a great character in season 1 and an awful character in season 2. I mean, season 1, wow. I mean, you rarely got to have a Star Trek character that was that damaged as a good guy. You know,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, particularly as a Starfleet officer and who shows it. That's it. That is what, because there's characters along the way who, you know, they have whatever trauma it is, but it's, you know, it's wrapped up in their work. It's, you know, listen, don't mention the war because this isn't this. Whereas Raffi, having lost her commission, you know, is just wearing it on her sleeve, and we're like, but you're a Starfleet, and she was different from Rios in that way.
Yeah,
because she was all emotion, whereas Rios was that cool kind of like, yeah, you know, we meet him, he's pulling something out of his shoulder. I remember watching that episode being like, I am that easily manipulated. All right, listen, you nailed it. Okay,
yeah,
you nailed
it. I love his character. Love. He's such a compelling actor. Like he's one of those guys where I go, what was he in? But what's he been in before? Because I want to go see it because I can't stop watching that guy. It's like, wow, that guy is just awesome. So I would have liked to have seen something else. They really humanized him and they made him a great character, but I would have liked it to go on for a lot more. And I'm kind of like, oh, really? I'd like to see more of Elnor. You know, and I was the guy who was like, oh, Elnor, really? Like the elf. Like how much more are you going to make him like than Elrod in Lord of the Rings? I mean, come on. But redeemed himself, liked him, and I was like, "What? He's not in season 2?" I mean, it's like, you know. So yeah, I like that. You and I have talked. We're covering a lot of stuff we've covered before. But I like and then I just have to once again mention that I hated Will Wheaton in season 2. God, I hated it.
Poor Will. God, got your break.
Dude, he kind of peaked in Big Bang Theory. Yeah, and
justice for Wesley.
Yeah, Mr. Loco, you're right. I think you're right. Poor Elnor, they didn't know what to do with him. That's true. That's very true. They didn't know what to do with him. I'm really curious. Since they were going back to Earth, did they not want him back on Earth because they have to hide his ears and whatever? I don't know.
There was this great premise, the first full-blooded Romulan to ever go through Starfleet Academy. Let's do that. And unfortunately, and we know he's not going to be in season 3.
Yeah, which is such a shame. Because I don't want to just see the TNG cast. I want to see the TNG cast with, now we're being teased. Oh, we're going to get Voyager. We're going to get D6. Not all right. Well, I'll wait and see. I'm looking forward to it. As everyone is. This is a good point. Mr. Loco has a good point. You care to comment there, Sean?
My Icheb and Hughes endings were not needed. Yeah, I be honest, I don't mind as much about Icheb's because I hated his character in Voyager. I really, unfortunately, I never warmed to Icheb. But Hugh's different. Because I do think that he was brought back because we had to kill someone who the audience would care about. And it was such a death. That felt a bit like, oh, okay, all right. Poor Hugh. It was nice to see him back. And it made sense, the artifact helping the board. I get that. But yeah, Icheb, I think I might be an outlier. The violence of Icheb's death never actually bothered me. It's not, and this is not to do with the fact I don't like the character. That didn't bother me. I thought it was, when I watched it, went, okay, Seven's been through trauma.
Yeah. No, that was good. I like the damage 7. I like the revenge seeking. I like that. They've just humanized her character so much more.
Yes.
They've made the Borg part of her so minor.
Yes.
Right. It's like, oh, she's now like 10% Borg. She's not 70% Borg or whatever. I really like that. I think that's it's very compelling now. So I think now she could carry her own show now. She couldn't do that.
Hopefully she might. I agree. I agree. Although the ensemble that they ended up with on Voyager, as opposed to what they started with, and by that I mean, yep, Harry Kim and Tom Paris were in Endgame, and Chakotay was in Endgame, but the ensemble really was, it was Janeway 7, the Doctor, then you had Tuvok, and that seemed to be how it was being written. And whereas I think they needed that for Voyager, and rightly so. I mean, all of them were great. But now I think, yes, 7 could carry a show easily.
Mr. Loco, I just got to say, I love all your comments. You've just been posting some great comments tonight. Please come back on a regular basis. Everyone, and listen, everyone, let me just correct this here. Everyone, please sign up for the Axanar newsletter. You know, we had a big burst of new people signing up for the newsletter, which I was very happy to see, probably because I've been pushing it, because that is the best way to stay in touch with us. Find us what's happening with the studio, what's happening with Axanar, what's happening with our live streams, all the cool swag that we sell online and new stuff that we're getting in all the time. The new things now are the silent running movie poster prints, the original art prints, and the we're just releasing the Adama First Cylon Civil War art prints, which are beautiful. Which I have to say, and these we have two versions. The Cylon Civil War, there's two versions. There's a canvas version, and then there's a paper version. Are both are G-clay, so they're high-end art prints. But I had done the Cylon Civil War prints back 13 years ago when I did the Battlestar Galactica auctions as a licensed product from Universal. And I think we did 250 of them, and they sold out. And I still had number one. I had saved two. One we framed and put on the wall, and the other one I just saved in the tube. And last week I saw someone had sold one of those canvases on eBay that I produced for $1,500. And I was like, $1,500? So I took out my number one. I found it. I checked it. It was perfect condition. And I put it on eBay for $19.95. I said, okay, someone wants to pay $1,500 for like number 43. How about number one? And I'm the guy who produced them. And I can tell you, this is the best quality. Some guy wanted it. This morning I wake up, there's $1,800 in my eBay account. I'm like, well, take care of the balance on the rent on the studio this month.
Good Lord.
And here's the good news. You guys can get it for like, I think we're selling them the canvas ones for $350 and the paper ones for like $1.25. So, you know, you don't have to pay $1,800. You can get them cheap. And someone just got, one of my guys just got the silent running one we did. And he called me. He was like, Alec, this is unbelievable how beautiful this is. And they are they're done by high-end. It's a high-end art shop, you know, sign shop, print shop that does them. So anyway, there's a little, you find out about all of that if you sign up for our newsletter down there, axanar.com/newsletter. So Mr. Loco, make sure you sign up because we want to make sure you keep coming back. Are we allowed to make an Android and Apple game? Well, we have no plans to make an Android or Apple game. And if we did, we couldn't use Klingons, Vulcans. You know, we have to stay away from certain things, right? We're making these next two episodes of Axanar because we have a settlement agreement with CBS that allows us to make, that says you can make 2 more episodes. It authorizes us to make 2 more episodes using the IP that we've been using. But once you start getting outside of that, you know, again, you're then using, if you're using Klingons, you're using CBS IP. You know, if you so you have to be really careful. And honestly, and this is one of the things Dan Devey and I were talking about, Sean, is we are all tired of having to deal with Star Trek. Like, love Star Trek. Our love for Star Trek hasn't abated, but our desire to not have to deal with CBS is here. You know, we are like, That's it. We don't want to deal with it. We want to have our own IP. We want to have things or have so many IPs that, oh, you guys want to be assholes? We don't need to deal with you. We'll deal with these guys, right? So, and that's the using original IP. So there are things that we want to do with Axanar, but things like making a game and, oh, forget it. Then you're dealing with, I'm sure CBS would not be happy about that. And that's just a big undertaking, making an Android or Apple game. Geez. So Dustin, unless you're willing to volunteer and make it, we have no plans. Donnie Pearson's taken off. Take care, my friend. I know we have gone off, and it's getting late where you are in the kingdom. Star Trek Online is able to use Star Trek IP because they're licensed by Star Trek. We are not licensed by Star Trek. As much as I've tried to be, I've literally offered CBS and said, "Hey, we'll give you, just count us a license," and they were like, "Nope, all right." I didn't say that. If I win the Mega Millions lottery, I would buy major stock in the evil empire and let loose the dogs of war. JFM, you're near and dear to my heart. Thank you, my friend. I'll have to mention you in my will. In the thanks. Oh, and hey, and thanks to these people. So Frank Parker, who is a fan filmmaker here in the United States, who's coming down to our shoot next week. Thank you. Take care of yourself. So listen, Sean, we will continue this another time.
Happily.
We can
happily.
You and I can talk Star Trek, and we haven't even gotten into Doctor Who.
That's what I mean. There's only much like Star Trek. There's only 60 years of history.
I know. Holy. Well, so I will end. Listen, I did see, based on your suggestion, I saw the last episode featuring Jodie
Whittaker. Yeah.
Whittaker. And was fine with her, a female doctor. Didn't bother me one bit. I thought, and it was typical Doctor Who. It was kind of like everything that I've come to expect from Doctor Who, which is like its own thing. It's like I can't compare Doctor Who to any other science fiction show.
Yeah. It's kind of like you could say things are like Doctor Who, but you can't say Doctor Who is like something else. Yeah.
Nothing that Doctor Who is like. The new Doctor Who is like the old Doctor Who.
Yeah, right? It's the only thing that's different is that the zippers are slightly less noticeable on the back of the monster. And I mean, I am a massive Whovian. I say this with love, but I mean, my God, the Slitheen in season 1. Anyway, look, that's low hanging fruit. We've talked about this, the Slitheen till Kingdom Come.
Yeah, we'll have to do we'll have you back and we'll do a whole episode on Doctor Who and Torchwood. Which I loved. I loved Torchwood. I really did. And I actually got to, I chatted with Torchwood guy.
John Barrowman?
Yeah, John Barrowman. At Salt Lake Comic Con, back when we were casting for Axanar. And this was, I want to say this was before the lawsuit. So this was probably 2015. And we were at Salt Lake Comic Con. And Barrowman was there, and I went up to him and I told him what we were doing. And I know he's a Star Trek fan. And I gave him our Blu-ray. And I never got to chat anymore with him because we got sued. And that kind of put everything on hold. But I was thinking of him as Robert April.
Oh, like I really like our current Robert April, but yeah,
there. And
you can see it though. You can see it.
I could see it. Yeah, listen, how many Robert Aprils do we have? Holy crap! But yeah, I like Robert April.
James Doohan.
Sorry,
James Doohan. The original Robert April. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And yeah, there were so many different ways to go to that. And then, as I told you, I also approached Paul, Doctor Who.
Paul McGann.
I approached him about playing because there I was going off what the novels did, making him English. And I was like, because in Axanar, in the full feature script, he's not English in the script, but he's not anything. He could be anyone. But his wife is in the script, of course. And so anyway, And we approached Paul Hogan, Colonel Ty from Battlestar Galactica. I talked to him years ago, and he was interested in doing it. So there were a lot of potential Robert Aprils, and of course, Strange New Worlds goes in a totally different direction and makes him African American. So, God bless. And it was interesting. Someone said to us, "Well, now that they've established him as African American, are you going to recast your Robert April?" And I was like, "Yeah, not really. No, because in the books in TAS he was a white guy. So, isn't it cool that he can be different things in different universes?" I love that.
I remember actually having a chat with Fred Bronson, who wrote the Counterclock Incident.
Oh.
And I remember chatting to him. I was like, "Oh, and what do you think?" He said, "I think it's brilliant." He said, I love the fact, as you say, Robert April can be whatever the bloody hell you want. You just cast the right person." And so he was like, "Yep." He put out a lovely message actually, welcoming. His name escapes me. Sorry, the new actor to the right. Said, "From the creator of Robert April to you, welcome to the family." I thought that was lovely.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, no, I think it's cool. Again, another reason it's another universe. Just right. I'm just gonna say it. Hey, but so good. All right, we're gonna have you back, and that way we're gonna talk Doctor Who and Torchwood, because
excellent.
Way more than me on that subject, and you can, and I'll just shut up and listen to you for an hour.
No, it's grand. I need somewhere to put this information. No, it's fine. It's grand.
So, okay, listen. If you haven't seen the last episode of Jodie Whittaker's, Doctor Who, which is called "The Power of the Doctor,"
exactly. Yep.
Power of the Doctor, which is I bought it on Amazon, I think, because it was the only place I could get it. Well worth the $1.99 I paid, or whatever I paid for it. So if you have not seen that yet, cover your ears, because I am going to ask Sean a question about this.
So spoiler
alert. Okay, here we go. So Sean, I had heard about Tennant returning as the Doctor. What do we haven't seen any more, right? That's the last Doctor who we've seen is that episode, right?
That's it, yeah. The official trailer has dropped for the 60th. That dropped on Christmas Day.
Oh, it has. Okay, so I can find that on YouTube.
You can, yes.
Okay. And what do we know about the next season?
So what we know going into 2023, which is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, is that there are at least 3 specials that have been filmed. They will be released in Q4, definitely November, because November the 23rd is the 60th anniversary.
Okay.
They are featuring David Tennant as the 14th Doctor.
Okay.
So whoever's keeping count. The return of Catherine Tate as Donna Noble.
Okay.
We also have Yasmin Finney, who will be playing a mysterious character called Rose. We also have the return of the late, great Bernard Cribbins. Wilf will be back. And we also have Penelope Wilton as Sylvia Noble as well. So it's we're going back to season 4, because Russell T Davies has returned. He is now showrunner of Doctor Who again. Chris Chibnall exited with Jodie Whittaker. That era basically ended. So that's what we see. We know that a villain from the Doctor Who Weekly comic, I think it was the 1980s, called Beep the Meep. Yep, that's the actual name. Will be appearing in at least one of these. So the trailer that we've seen doesn't say whether it's a trailer for episode 1, episode 2, or episode 3, or all 3 episodes, for example. Basically looks like a gerbil. Neil Patrick Harris is playing mysterious character, very, very important villain, who we think is the Celestial Toymaker. That will make either an awful lot of sense to someone and completely no sense to anyone else. Absolutely fine. And in the teaser trailer at the end of The Power of the Doctor, which I presume you stayed for after the credits for that.
Yep.
We have seen the first sentence spoken by the 15th Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, who looks very upset and saying, "Will someone please tell me what the hell is going on here?" And the only thing we could say is that scene is in the latest trailer, so that we've had no other footage whatsoever of Ncuti Gatwa. So we don't know. Maybe Ncuti will appear like other Doctors in the very last scene after the regeneration, or maybe not. Who knows? It's hard to tell. So what do we know? A lot and nothing.
Okay, the way it should be, I guess. The keeping us in suspense. There's, not being a Doctor Who aficionado. I came back and I watched. I mean, when it started up again here in the States with Eccleston, I watched it. He was okay, and I watched it. And then Tennant came in, and I loved Tennant.
I think I would have picked up on Tennant as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched all of it, loved it, and then for some reason I didn't watch Matt Smith at all.
Oh, okay.
And then I picked up again with Capaldi, watched half a dozen episodes, and then kind of lost interest. But one of the one show I loved was I don't forget the name. I know you're going to tell me because you know off the top of your head. Was the one with the War Doctor?
Of course. That was the 50th special. That was the big
50th
one.
special. Okay,
which is 10 years old, Alec.
10 years ago. Holy crap! 10 years. Shit, that was so good.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So they threw out all the stops for it.
Oh my God! And of course, John Hurt. I mean, you can't go wrong. He's one of those actors that's just that he's just money in the bank. So that was brilliant. Here's my question for you. Like when I was watching Power of the Doctor, there's these other sidekicks who I've never seen before, right? Because I didn't see the Doctors that they used to be with, right?
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Who are these? I don't know. The only sidekick from old Doctor Who was Tom Baker's sidekick, because Leela, because that was the only Tom Baker was the only Doctor Who I ever saw.
Gotcha.
So he was the one I grew up on. Has she ever come back? Did they ever bring her back in anything?
No, not Leela that I know of. No, because some companions come back in specials, in basically side quests. If this was a video game, because we just did the obituary list for 2020 people we've lost in 2022, and there was quite a few who appeared very early on in who then years later came back in a little special episode, or they would have appeared here, which I was learning as I went, like, oh, that's nice that they came back in this. Katie Manning, for example, came back. So there was the entire spin-off series of the Sarah Jane adventures, and Joe Grant appeared in that for a while. And there is now, this is not confirmed. I am literally going to parrot what Russell T Davies has teased us with online. Was that someone the BBC tweeted out a picture of Susan Foreman, the Doctor's granddaughter, Carol Ann Ford, from all the way back in the early 1960s. And they said, we are, kind of today we're paying tribute to, it sounds like paying tribute to someone who's passed. She hasn't passed away. We're paying tribute to Susan Foreman. And Russell T Davies tweets going, wonder whatever happened to her. Well, you could tell us, Russell, because she's alive and well, and the Doctor never came back to find her. He left her on Earth after the Dalek invasion of her. Anyway. So it's possible we might see Susan Foreman going forward. So,
interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we're gonna kind of. My dogs need to be walked. So, and it's like 4 a.m. where you are. So we're gonna let you go.
Pure coffee.
There you go. And listen. Great chat. I've loved this. We're going to have to do the Doctor Who special with you, because obviously a lot of us are either watchers like me or fans, and they need to get the straight dope from you. You need to send me links so I can put in the description. But everyone, listen, we haven't even talked about Trek culture, which we need to talk about, or the Clone Star podcast, which we need to talk about. So definitely, that's 2 times we got to bring you back. Want to talk about Star Trek and your Star Trek projects, Trek Culture and Clone Star Podcast, which sounds like an all science fiction podcast. Is that?
Clone Stars, it's all science fiction. At the moment, it's very, very Star Trek heavy. At the moment, we're very lucky that we have lovely guests like yourself. We have an interview series that we're doing. We're very, very lucky with people who've given us their time. We feel very fortunate. That is available. All of the usual podcast catchers. You'll catch them Apple, Google, Spotify, any of those. We're available. Plus, follow us on Twitter or Instagram. The links are always there. Trek Culture. Go near, this is going to sound really bad. Go near YouTube. We tend to comment on things. We tend to be tagged. So, like, we won't be far if you go and look for us on YouTube. So, yeah, if you go to either one of those, and thank you so much to everyone. I've seen very, very lovely comments there about as well, people following along. So, thank you so much.
Great commenters. So, listen, thank you, everyone. Thank you to Sean for staying up so late since he's 5 hours ahead in Ireland. We'll have him back to talk about Trek Culture, Clone Star Podcast, and Doctor Who. And you'll see him if you go to D&I Con, which is this May in Philadelphia, Diversity and Inclusion Con. There's a great cast of characters, of which Sean is one, and I know I will be there. So we look forward to seeing you all there. So, hey, listen, thanks, Sean, so much. Thank you, everyone out there. 2 weeks to Axanar shoots. So we're really excited, and we'll keep you posted. Keep staying tuned to our live streams, all right? Thank you so much. Take care.
Good night, everyone.